Breaking news.
David Longmark and Jordan Robinson have
Donated a coffee. Thank you, sir, for your donation. If you too want to be based, you can donate to me through the link in the description. It earns you my gratitude and a permanent spot on the outro. And also helps me towards my goal of getting the fuck out of this shithole of a country. Thanks in advance. And now, back to the shit show. Many of you are familiar with the fact that Egypt is a country rich with history. That's its whole shtick, and the main marketing point for it as a tourist destination. But what I don't think many of you know is that we, or rather our leaders, are actively erasing this history. Over the past week or so, there has been mass demolition being done to historic areas in Cairo. Historic tombs are being razed to the ground with absolutely no regard for its historical value. And keep in mind that many of these are actually Islamic monuments, or if not related directly to that, they happen to come from that period in Egypt's history. Some of these places are over 1,000 years old, and they just got torn down in a matter of hours. So, the burning question I'm sure everyone is thinking, why? Why the fuck would you do that? Well, it's to make way for some new bullshit project, of course. I think it was a bridge, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I know, yet another fucking bridge. Despite the many issues Egypt is having, still insists on building more and more of these fucking things, no matter the cost. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think any kind of project is worth erasing that much history for, let alone a useless one. And to add insult to injury, I've seen talk of mishandling of the human remains from the tombs they demolished. This reads, a photo I took of a room where collected human bones and remains are scattered randomly in white sheets after removing the tombs in Sidi Galal cemetery at Al Sayyida Aisha district. They didn't even respect the sanctity of the dead, and the families are all over the cemetery looking for their people cluelessly, and nobody is helping them. Aside from the heritage and historical value, where is the respect for the dead? Even I find this very disrespectful, and I'm not much of an afterlife believer, but for a supposedly Muslim system, this is outrageous. Islam has a ton of lore, stories, beliefs, and rituals centered around just the grave and resting place of a person. So for them to breach that and overstep that line like this is jarring. Unfortunately, this has always been the case here. Aside from negligence, mishandling of heritage and monuments, and the whole black market for that kind of stuff, they simply do not give a shit about heritage. Can't expect much else from ignorant people in suits riding tanks, really. This has happened many other times in the past, and not just in Cairo or big cities. For example, in Luxor, there were these two iconic palaces by the Nile, right next to Luxor Temple. Can't miss them. Or well, couldn't miss him. The remaining one was torn down by the current system, but the other one, the first one, had already been reduced to rubble by the previous system, or to be accurate, a previous system, since we've had a bunch of short-lived ones before this. The one who tore this down was Mubarak. For no reason whatsoever, the land was not even used for anything. To my knowledge, it's still not used for anything. They literally just tore them down for the heck of it. I think the old guy who tore the first one down had plans for the land, but the regime got overthrown before it came to fruition. The second one, though, the one destroyed by the current system, was done for no apparent reason. Also, while on the topic of Luxor, they destroyed the old Corniche and redid it, and it looks absolutely hideous and has no shade whatsoever. But hey, it's modern looking now. It even has separate trash cans, apparently. In a country where we don't even have trash recycling. Other examples are a bunch of residential areas that were torn down, slums, and that one beach in Alexandria I talked about before. They went as far as raising a beach in Alexandria to build a fucking bridge. A bridge by the sea. Who is that gonna help? Surely not the people who visit the country and pay hard currency to see the view, or the locals who like the beach being their one little fun thing they do in their miserable Egyptian life. I mean, sure, the bridges do help traffic some, but is it worth it? Beaches are a core part of Alexandria's identity as a city. They call it the bride of the Mediterranean Sea. For fuck's sake, I guess she is the bridge of the Mediterranean now. Besides, traffic is not even Alexandria's biggest issue. Why not do something about the rainwater flooding the streets, destroying infrastructure and property every single goddamn winter instead? That's just how they run things here. Urban development and modernization are king over history, even, despite history being essentially the main income source for the country, with tourism and whatnot, dating back all the way to Abd al-Nasser, when the high dam was being built and threatened to flood the two temples in Aswan. UNESCO had to step in and save them, not us, but at least the dam was actually very beneficial, so I guess he gets a pass for it. These motherfuckers, however, there is no justification or excuse for the amounts of history and nature they erased for the sake of their hobby projects. And in case you're wondering why they can't seem to help themselves and stop making these projects, I'll clue you in. 1. To leave legacy. It's no coincidence that every dictator that comes builds a bunch of shit and names it after themselves or other important people at the time. 2. Money. The budgets for these get robbed and go to important people's pockets. I mean, think about it. You're in a place of utter chaos and given absolute power. What's stopping you from, for example, getting grade C materials for a project when the budget is set around grade A and then taking the difference home? Don't quote me on the terminology. I ain't no fucking architect, but you get the idea. And the demolition is still ongoing. At this point, I want all of our history and monuments to be sold off and held in other countries' museums. We don't deserve it. And we don't preserve it. At least I know it will be safe there and appreciated as it should be. And I'm not even a big history fan, but like, come on. Erasing an entire country's identity like this, bit by bit, is just fucked up. At this rate, we will have nothing left. A few centuries down the line, assuming the world even lasts that long, that is, I can totally see historians puzzling over missing eras in history because of this. Anyways, that was my little rant. Like, share, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, and most importantly, take care, homies.